I'd always wanted to be a mum. It was always in my plans. So the treatment that I needed to go through was around 6 months of intensive chemotherapy. So it got to the night before I was supposed to go in and get my eggs retrieved, and they told me that there's no chance that they can go through egg harvesting. This was just the worst experience of my life, because I didn't have another chance of protecting my fertility and being able to have a child. I just had to go through chemo now at this point. There was nothing anyone could do. They would just tell me how sorry they were, and I just had to move on. I'm Steph. I am currently living in Blackpool, seaside town. I studied graphic design and visual communications at Blackpool Nathau College. I'd say I put a lot of pressure on myself to achieve a first. Yeah, it just knocked my health massively in my 3rd and final year. I actually remember going to the Seychelles for a holiday. I remember coming back and I felt really jet lagged. This lasted like months and months, and it just never left, and I just learnt to put up with it. And then the symptoms just progressed. I was getting like frequent headaches, constantly fatigue and run down, and I went and seen so many doctors very frequently to kind of see what the problems were, but time and time again they kind of just didn't really give me an answer. And at this point I realised it was something a lot more serious. I was going back and forth to the doctors and getting a lot of blood tests done, and kept being told, oh, it's fine, don't worry about it. He sent me off with some more pills. I was referred to get a bone marrow biopsy done, which would then determine what exactly was wrong with me. And I eventually was told that it was leukemia. They called me in, so I went with my mum and my boyfriend. I was a bit emotionless at first. I was like, right, well, how long's this gonna take? I've got a degree to go back to. Then it all started to kick in. I started worrying about what all the others were thinking, because I knew I wasn't going anywhere. So the treatment that I needed to go through was around 6 months of intensive chemotherapy. There was a high risk of being infertile. I remember asking my consultant, do you know anybody who's gone through similar to me and had children of their own? And I think he mentioned that he's only known of one woman in the whole of the UK. Soon after, they asked me if I wanted to go through with harvesting my eggs. It was going to be extremely high risk for me to go through this procedure, and a lot could go wrong, but I'd always wanted to be a mum. It was always in my plans. I remember my mum just sitting back and just saying, it's totally up to you. But I'd been with my boyfriend so long, and it was always part of our plans and what we'd talked about. So I couldn't miss out on this part of my life, and I just had to take the risk. They was putting me on a lot of new tablets, and one of them I shouldn't have been put on. And they told me that they cannot take me on and go through egg harvesting whilst I'm on this medication. I remember screaming and crying with my mum at this appointment. But there was just nothing they could do further. They just couldn't do it. It was too high risk of me not making it through the operation of retrieving my eggs. Flash forward to going back to the hospital, and I told all the nurses, I can't go through with this. they understood that I did not need to be on this medication that stopped this process from happening. So I was took off it. So I was told that I could go through with it again, it just gave me a new lease of life. I just felt so happy that I've got this chance again. So it got to the night before I was supposed to go in and get my eggs retrieved, and I actually got influenza, and I was so ill. It got closer to the time, and they let the fertility clinic know that what my condition was like, and they had to cancel it. And this was just the worst experience of my life, because I didn't have another chance of protecting my fertility and being able to have a child. I just had to go through chemo now at this point. There was nothing anyone could do. They would just tell me how sorry they were, and I just had to move on. There we go. I needed to get a Hickman line put into my chest, which was such a painful, traumatic experience. Not something that I'd wish upon anybody. And then the next morning, they wheeled in the chemo. Right away, I started to feel sick and weak. I didn't want to eat. I was put off my food completely. I was coming out in rashes, little red dots all over my body. My hair started falling out. And this upset me so much. I said to God, I said, take my hair. I don't care as long as I can have children. I don't mind. So I just saw that as our promise, and I just moved forward with hope, and I never lost hope. But yeah, it was really tough, and the effects that chemo had on my body was just awful. I got really ill. I got sepsis and pneumonia at the same time. I was covered in oxygen masks and lots of scary things, and it was really traumatizing. I literally asked everyone in the room. I thought I was gonna die. I was like, is this what it is? Throughout my cancer treatment, probably about halfway I would say, I started learning about different ways that I can heal my body and different routes, and straight away I started feeling really positive effects, and I just carried on with it and see where it took me, and it just became such a passion of mine. I kept at this and started changing more and more things in my lifestyle and my diet, and just kept going, and I finished my treatment. I rang the bell and I was off on my way home, and I was fine, feeling good, and there was no evidence of leukemia left in my blood. So my lifestyle shifted to a very natural and organic way of living, and I could feel my body healing. My blood counts were rising quite quickly. A lot of my side effects from chemotherapy were like leaving me, and I just kept at it, and I was so determined to help my fertility. That was my goal all along, to really preserve that. So about a year after I finished my chemotherapy treatment, my last one, I went for a scan and a blood test. They came back better than anyone could have ever imagined. They were quite shocked, in fact, and my results are really just normal for anyone my age. It was just such a surreal moment to finally get a confirmation, and I feel like everything's back to normal, but yeah, even better. The main thing that I've learned throughout this whole experience is that everything really does happen for a reason, even if you don't see it at the time and you feel like your life's falling apart. It could honestly just be redirecting you in the most amazing path, like I feel it has with me. It's brought me to my true passion and has proper redirected me, which is natural health and healing, and helping others heal their own bodies through natural methods, as it's been such a huge factor in my own journey. And if I can help just one person, then that's just such a rewarding feeling. I knew that I was going to get through this and be able to have the ability to have my own children one day. Anything can be possible, especially if you have hope, and I hope this touches whoever needs to hear it.